This is KamehaRadio, a Dragon Ball podcast. Welcome back, everybody, for listening in. We are back from our hiatus. We're going to be here more on the regular than we have been in the past. And especially today is going to be a very interesting discussion because we are going to finally be talking about Dragon Ball Daima in its entirety and talking about the highs, the lows, the things we loved, the things we hated, and everything else in between. So joining us today on the podcast to discuss all things Daima, we brought back Uni X. What's going on, man?
I'm just chilling. There's a lot of Dragon Ball stuff going around right now between Legends dropping Daima stuff, and I'm a Daima stan at this point. I'm summoning on everything. We got Sand Day coming up. We got the Daima DLC. Have I said I like Daima? I like Daima. Daima DLC coming up for Sparking Zero soon. We should be getting the trailer tonight, hopefully. I'm ready. I'm ready. I've been digesting this series, and much like you, I think there's some highs, there's some lows, there's some things I love, there's some things I'm going to be pretty scathing on. But yeah.
So all right, let's just start off and get right into it. What did you think overall? Like, what was your overall thoughts? And we can kind of talk about specifics as we kind of go in. But
so I am going to say right off the bat, I think it's going to be fairly hard to give an unbiased opinion of Daima, because regardless of where you stand on the spectrum, you're either nostalgic about Dragon Ball Z and will pretty much like down anything that's not the original, or you really love GT and you're kind of mad that this show low key just like put GT out in the quote unquote non-canon wasteland and just like scuttled the parts that people liked most about GT but made them different. Or you're a person like me and realistically you just haven't been able to theory craft about Dragon Ball much since like the TOP. We've gotten some little tidbits in the Broly movie, but most of that speculation is where does Broly go next? And then Superhero did the same thing, but now it's like where do Gohan and Piccolo go next? But we really haven't had world building for Dragon Ball since Dragon Ball Super ended at this point almost 7 years ago. And for me, that's going to make it very hard to like ever hate Daima, because Daima, it's the first time we've been able to wonder as Dragon Ball fans in quite some time. So
yeah,
overall, I'm gonna say that I liked it. I loved it. There were just some criticisms mixed in with everything I do like. How about you?
yeah. I think it's been interesting kind of seeing like the discussion like online as a whole. There's so many people that love it. There's so many people that hate it. There's people out that are just outright saying it's not canon. There's some people that are defending against that, saying that this is 100% canon. I agree with you that I think like when it comes to like Dragon Ball and like it being not prevalent on our televisions as it was back when Super was going on for 3 years straight. Like we get so little content few and in between. So like for me, having Daima come in and being a little bit of a buffer, even if it's not a continuation of what everybody wants, which is Super 2 basically. It's still nice to have something there that can be digested and just kind of taking you along for the grand ride. Yeah, I enjoyed the show thoroughly. I personally would put it up there as probably some of my favorite Dragon Ball, especially a lot of the moments in the show make it one of my favorite pieces of Dragon Ball content. I think, obviously, there were some minor pacing issues.
Yeah. Oh, sorry. Yeah, I know. My bad. You hit a sore spot. Continue.
There is some minor, and it's not. I will give Daima a lot of credit in the sense that it's only 20 episodes, and for the majority of the run, there really wasn't like any like. There wasn't like a lot of downtime. The pacing issues that we did have were very like one note. Like they were one-off episodes in between bigger like stretches of the adventure. I think like a lot of the pacing issues more or less comes from the fact that like there were moments in the show where where obviously like their Gendarmerie ship kept getting shot down and dismantled like like way too often than it probably should have.
I get triggered. I get triggered whenever I hear the word mega now, which is hard because I'm streaming Digimon games right now, because like the Megalith planet was like, why? Like I hear you, like it was funny, there were quirks things, but like everything that episode, that could have been a little short.
Oh,
if
yeah.
They just put on YouTube a 5-minute short, but it did not need a whole episode. You were talking about pacing issues, and I'm like, we had episodes in Daima that if we rewatch Daima, we are 100% skipping. But we also had episodes in Daima that we were like, bro, there's 5 minutes left in this episode. How? Like,
Yeah.
how are they getting through whatever they need to get through in this? And that's crazy. You can have both of those in the series. How do you have entire useless episodes for the most part, and then the series still ends up like feeling like it didn't resolve what it needed to resolve?
Yeah.
That's wild.
Yeah, and I mean, I know that, and yeah, there is pacing issues too, but like I always think back to like the Goku versus Frieza fight, and we look, and that was so long ago. Like I think for a lot of people, they don't realize how long ago Z was when it was first airing on TV. So like I look at that fight, and I think that fight in its entirety is like 20 episodes or something like that. Like it's 15, 20 episodes. So the little bit of pacing issues that we have in Daima, to me at least, doesn't feel like it's nearly close to the pacing of the original Z run.
There's definitely some nostalgia goggles that people are wearing when it comes to Z, because like it's just like you said, like just keeping it a full buck. If you go back and watch the Frieza saga outside of Kai, which is what most of us in the the millennial age watched it on,
yeah,
you will not be happy getting through the Frieza saga. The Frieza saga feels, it drags, it picks up, it drags again. It starts talking about characters that we have no interest in at this very moment in time, only to come back to a fight, only to then break apart the fight, to see people's reactions to the fight that have nothing to do with the fight, to go back to the pacing of the Frieza saga was harsh.
Yeah.
Like,
yeah. And so for me, it's just the pacing I don't think is that big of an issue compared to like past entries. What did, in terms of like, I know that there's a lot of comparisons to GT, and I know like the director and stuff, and Toriyama obviously took inspiration from GT. Are you satisfied with some of the like GT inspired like inclusions in the show, or are you one of the few that's like GT, no thanks?
So it's no secret for people that have been following any of my Dragon Ball content, I regularly joke about GT standing for Garbo Trash. But I think over the course of 10 years of Dokkan, Dragon Ball Legends, mini fighting games, Super Saiyan 4 has grown on me, because they legitimately make that character snapped every time he steps foot into any video game. And so just following the levels of brokenness, I have appreciated Super Saiyan 4 more and more and more. Baby Vegeta, I think like the main thing about GT wasn't their ideas, it was their execution for me.
Yeah.
I think the like Baby Vegeta, really, really cool. Some of the things he was doing, not as cool. Him saying he needs potential, and then he leaves Ultimate Gohan's body, or potentially Ultimate Gohan's body, to hop into the body of capped out at Super Saiyan 2 at the age of like 38. Vegeta, like that, I can't get behind that. But then you have like things like the Dragon Balls, Dark Dragon or Shadow Dragons, really, really cool. Them being put over the edge because of wishes, when the past like 8 wishes have been wishing innocent people back to life after they got murdered for no reason. Okay, like, so I was always kind of disillusioned with Dragon Ball GT, but I liked that they recognized that Dragon Ball GT still had some shining moments, and they wanted to take those moments and reimagine them, because people can complain about nostalgia Ball Z, but some of the better work in the past couple years has been taking things that we loved and just making them make more sense.
Yeah.
Like Broly, 100%. Broly's
Oh my God.
original storyline was butt cheeks.
Yeah.
Like, it made no sense. Like people be like, oh, he was driven insane, so this guy's gonna recognize a dude literally 35 years later or something like that. Like, just off of like, they don't sound the same, they might not even smell the same. I don't know how he recognizes Goku if I remember, I think it was just name. Like he heard Kakarot, and somehow that name just stuck with him, even though he was like 2 weeks old. I mean, like, it was flimsy at best. And then Gogeta, I had to eat crow with Gogeta, because I would always make fun of my friends. I'm like, how does your favorite character have 30 seconds of screen time? Like, how is that even enough time for you to grow attachment to a character? He said 3 sentences, flexed on his opponent, and was gone. And then they gave Gogeta in the Broly movie, and I was like, okay, like I can't deny that. This is absolute heat. So it's like I think that's cool, and doing that with Super Saiyan 4 is awesome. Doing that with just like the themes of this, the kind of adventure, searching for the Dragon Ball, Super Saiyan 4. I thought that was really, really cool. So in terms of them recycling ideas from GT, I can get behind that.
Yeah.
I can get behind that because they have ideas that need to be refleshed out and brought back into the main continuity, in my opinion.
Are you more, you mentioned how you appreciate Super Saiyan 4. Are you team raw 90s drip, or are you monkey paws Super Saiyan 4? Like which
I'm a big Wukong fan.
Okay.
Yeah. I think that him taking on more animalistic qualities is really, really cool. I loved seeing him run on his knuckles and his feet when fighting Goma.
Oh, that was really cool. Yeah.
Oh, it was. And the big meaty hands, I have to get used to it, but I do think that it was really cool that they did go that route. The original Super Saiyan 4s are raw, but I'm just gonna put this out here. The original Super Saiyan 4s, for the most part, 90% of their rawness, in my opinion, comes from still images.
Yeah.
Because like when you see, and Goku has some definite flex moments, Gogeta definitely has some, but like when you get to Super Saiyan 4 and you start watching it like from front to back in GT, Vegeta's hair regressing into his body and his like tank top coming back out of his body and his fingerless gloves reforming from being full glove. I was like, what were they cooking here? Like, this made no sense. And I know people are probably gonna get on me if you hear this and you're a GT stan. You're gonna be like, well, in Daima, Goku's shirt like came back the moment he went to Super Saiyan 3. It did. But my headcanon is that they had his shirt magically come back just so we could physically rip it off. Because it was two different things. His shirt disappeared when he turned Super Saiyan 4. It reappeared magically when he turned back to Super Saiyan 3 because of Goma's spell. But then he physically ripped it off and yeeted it to the side to go Super Saiyan 4 one more time. And I feel like the animators are just like, bro, I don't know how this is got to happen, but we have to get Goku to rip this shirt off. Because this is just gonna be gas. This is the moment. This is the future that Zero envisioned. And like they were like, okay, but how are we gonna get a shirt on? I don't know.
There's a very obvious explanation, and obviously it happens off camera. But
okay.
Piccolo just does clothes beam on Goku.
I mean, I would honestly believe it. If you guys remember when they got wished back to adults, Piccolo had like a battle worn version of his gi with no armor on. And then he got turned into an adult, and his clothes were miraculously fixed, and his armor and turban were back on, and he was just sitting there aura farming in the wind as per usual.
Yeah.
So like maybe Piccolo was just kind of hit it, like just quick drip fix.
You get a T-shirt. You get a T-shirt. Everybody gets a T-shirt.
Like facts. Like Goku's like, I can feel my power slipping. Piccolo's like, oh, I got you, bro. Saved Goku from flashing his nips to the whole crew right then and there. Precision close beam sniping, but. Yeah, I think they did a fair amount. I think if you don't mind me talking about another subject with Daima,
yeah, that's fine.
The characters.
Yeah.
The characters, because I think that Daima introduced a cast that I'm not going to say could have rivaled Dragon Ball because that was the OG legendary run, but I was actively interested in whatever Glorio had to tell as a story.
Yeah.
I was actively interested in seeing how Pansy would contribute to the group with her Bulma-like intellect. Hibis was hilarious to me only because he was straight comic relief. But like, bro literally tried to steal Bulma from Vegeta, and the only time he backed down, like if you guys notice, he was talking about Bulma being his girlfriend, and when Vegeta was like, "Nah, dude, we're married," Ibis didn't calm down. He was like, I don't mind. Like he was like, yo, I'm down for the 2-man. But like then he only dropped that whole point when he saw Vegeta curb stomp Tamagami 2. That was the first point where he was like, wow, you're strong. And he stopped asking about Bulma becoming his girlfriend or something. And I was like, yo, that's real. Real recognize real. He was like, yeah, no, we can share Bulma. And then he was like, oh, no, this man can definitely beat the crap out of me. No, I'm good. I'm good. I felt like they had a lot of cool, even Neva. Neva was one of my favorite characters in the show. Degesu had promise. And at the end of the day, they wasted almost every single one of those characters. Ku is my favorite like addition to the new cast.
Yeah.
But even him, they gave him a cool introduction, a funny introduction. They gave him a funny exit. He did nothing in the middle really. And Like Piccolo, there was no reason for him to ever come along. Like I made a prediction video that I got horrendously wrong. I thought that maybe Piccolo would hit like multi-form so that he could, because that's like they're doing all these callbacks. Maybe Piccolo goes multi-form so we can get like 3 consecutive hits all at like the
that would have
same
been
moment.
that would be
And
cool.
no, yeah, no, Piccolo out here hitting this dude in like manual analog, only to get slapped away so that Kuki. They introduced a cast that really could have worked, and they didn't do anything. And I think my biggest frustration is that it wouldn't have even been hard to do something. Like, hear me out. Like Degasu. They could have just had those moments where Arensu is on the phone with Glorio, and then she's like, "Coo, everything's going my way," and then they just pan to the hallway, and there's like Degasu just like listening, or maybe he bugged her office or something.
Yeah.
And then you go through all the, and that doesn't take anything. That's a singular like pan to show his face in the shadow, being like, interesting. And then you just get to the end, and maybe have a point where Degasu he hasn't told Goma what Arensu is planning, but he also hasn't told Arensu that he knows her plans. And even right then, that's the easiest way to cause like a little tension to where he's got to choose who to double cross or to double cross both of them. And that's still better than him just being like, everything's going to crap. Don't move, or the baby Namek gets it, and then just being like, bro, would you just shut up, and just like knocking him out. And that's the end of his story. Like, that's just gone. Like, they oh my gosh, Glorio petered off like a wet fart.
Yeah, so I mean, it's hard for me because it's like you said, all these new characters that got introduced had a lot of charm to them. There was like, it's got the classic Toriyama charm. Like, all of these characters get introduced, you're immediately soaked into these characters, you want to know more about them, and it just rolls off of them with ease, wanting to get to know those characters. But yeah, it's like the most interesting part to me throughout the whole journey was the whole back and forth between Arensu and Glorio. And like, it was like every episode, especially when they revealed that he was on call with her, made me sit and wonder, like, okay, what is Glorio's deal? What does he want out of this? Where, like, is he actually helping her? Is he gonna like double cross her? Like, how in the world is this gonna pan out? And like, that was half the mystery of the show, was like, okay, like, we got someone on the inside with the group, and it's a matter of seeing where that actually ends up leading. There was even a moment with Hybis where I was sitting there and I was like, is Hybis maybe involved in some way? Because like giving, like, just randomly giving away the third eye, like, came off like really odd to me. Like, what, like, why would you just give that up? Maybe he did ultimately think that, like, oh, it was just like a nothing burger, just something just that he got with the belt. But like, it's just weird that like the whole ending of the series basically only happened because Hybis just gave away the one oddity that they had in hand.
Oh, it's so true. And that's just,
So to me, it was like, there was like that whole mystery by the end of it, sadly, does just kind of flounder a little bit. And I would have liked to see that develop in a more interesting way.
Yeah. Oh no, yeah, just like, did you personally feel, and I'm not just talking about the join bugs, because the join bugs is the easy pot shot to take, but they just set up so many, I feel like, lines of story that it just felt like they had no intention on solving. Like circling back to the Glorio thing, when he betrayed her, and Arensu was just like, oh, like, have you forgotten how I saved you from the third demon realm? And Glorio, like, it looked like he got hit by like a truck. Like, he was like, no, I would never forget that. Like, I'm still grateful to this day. And I was like, are we about to see a flashback? Are we about to see something with Glorio? No, that's it.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know if this man was a slave or something, whether he was like marked for execution. I don't like the anime tropes that people say are cliche could have really just helped this series. Like, every time, like, they just set up multiple plot threads, and then we're just like,
yeah,
like, it just felt weird.
And it's just, and it's a little disheartening too, because like Dragon Ball in its design is simplistic in nature. That's just always been like Toriyama's thing, was just making things as easy for himself as he could possibly make it, while also making it interesting at the same time. So like, yeah, like you talk about the cliches of like anime or storytelling in general, and they could have easily made it simple by incorporating something like that in there, and it's just not there. Um, I do have to wonder if like, because obviously they were kind of like in the post-production when like Toriyama's health kind of went bad. So I'm almost wondering if like maybe there was a couple more episodes that were in the pipeline, but production just couldn't incorporate that into the final product. Maybe there was some drafts early on that we aren't aware of that had more of like Toriyama's vision, but obviously Toei probably put his 2 cents. Toei might have put their 2 cents in for how they wanted it to end. There's so many moving pieces right now with Dragon Ball, especially with the legal dispute over the rights for the IP. So I'm wondering if what we got was just a happening of all of those going ons in the background, and we probably could have had something more.
I think that could be something because the culture is different between where we are in America and over in Japan. And I know, like in America, if somebody that integral to the series passed away, there would be a period of mourning, but there's no way the studio just doesn't go, okay, we're gonna finish it how we feel like they would have finished it with our own spin on it. But I think maybe it could be more reverent. Like, yes, like Toriyama-san passed away. Maybe we just like tie up where it was in production with the ideas that we were given, and then just kind of, like, because it does feel very unfinished. It does feel like we just kind of dropped every storyline, just kind of got chopped. And it's just crazy because, like, again, like Glorio's backstory, Majin Doo and Ku, we were just for sure that we get a Majin Dooku with the Star Wars like parallels in there. The join bugs literally just being like, and it wasn't even like the join bugs just got dropped. We got reminded those bugs existed like 5 times, and then they had a scene where Goku is taking off to fight, and the scene lingers to show the pouch falling from his belt. Like, it's like they just weren't like throwing those away. Like, they were lingering on these plot points just not to touch them. And that was just a very odd thing to see. But this has also brought up speculation with people wondering if we're going to have a Daima follow-up, or like either a season 2 or a movie. And I don't think a season 2, personally, I don't think that would be something that we would have had to know about that. I don't think they can hide that. But a movie, if the next movie was in the Demon Realm, I would, like, I have ideas. I think a lot of the issues that people have with the continuity of it could be fixed. But I want to know your thoughts, because I have a little mad scientist segment.
Yeah. I think so. I talked about this with Phil last week on the pod. And a lot of people have like their own vision for what like Dragon Ball is, and a lot of people have their expectations for what it is. For me, like I've not just only been a Dragon Ball fan, I've been a Toriyama fan. So when I watch Dragon Ball, I kind of watch it from like his perspective, or how I feel he would look at like the things that happen in the franchise. So when it came to like the fusion bugs not being used, on one hand, it would have been really cool to see either like my headcanon was always that the fusion bugs in the Demon Realm were how they synthesized the Potara earrings, and we would have gotten a Vegito basically, or seen some third. Despite not really understanding how a third fusion would work between 2 people and have it be a completely different character. Like, I don't know if that would have been the case, but that still would have been cool to see. But when I saw those fusion bugs, like I had the thought in my head too, that they're going to fuse at some point in the series. Why else would they introduce this? But then once the series ended and we didn't see it, I thought back to, oh, you know what? Toriyama does have an inkling to push the boundaries of our expectations and just completely supersede what we think is going to happen. It's a classic Toriyama move to subvert expectation and make us think one thing, and he's just going for something completely different. So for that, like, that doesn't necessarily bother me too much. In terms of like a season 2 or a movie, I do agree with you that I think a movie would probably make more sense. I feel like the movie would have to tie in to where after Superhero, like we have to go back to the Demon Realm before the whole Black Frieza thing picks up again. Season 2 doesn't make sense to me because all of the evil and bad that was happening in Daima has been resolved. There's no like Goma and Degasu are locked away for the next like 100 years or whatever it is. There's nobody else that they came across in the series that has ulterior motive that would want to usurp the throne. Do and Ku, like despite them being born of evil, aren't actually evil. So like I don't see them like transforming the demon realm into anything bad per se.
Mhm.
So yeah, I think a movie would make more sense than a season 2. In terms of what that would necessarily be, I don't have an inkling or an idea, but yeah, let me hear
Hear
what you
me out.
got. Yeah.
Hear me out. Well, I'm gonna try to cook up something that would satisfy the lore heads and the meatheads. Okay. All right. A movie, because I definitely want to come back to the demon realm, but I think that the biggest thing for me would be how to link up the demon realm, like Daima series, to Battle of the Gods. And for me, okay, for me, I think it would be super, super, super cool to have the main villain be a blind, wrinkly looking Majin, but he has a headband. He comes into the store looking to buy the Oculuses. And you end up finding out that he is the original being that had the 3 eyes in the first place.
Oh, that sounds pretty cool. Yeah.
He potentially gets one eye. Maybe he can't get the other one. Maybe there's a gag about like Hibis buying one to replace the belt he lost. So he's got one eye, and now he's on the hunt for the second eye because he's either hurt or hasn't figured out yet the third one's been destroyed. This could have Majin Ku and Majin Du, and maybe even the Tamagamis coming to fight him. Ends up failing, and this has the Ku coming out, like Glorio came out to be like, "We need your help." So they have a reason to go back to the Demon Realm again. This time you condense the crew. You just got the trio: the Goku, Vegeta, and you have Piccolo. Now, what I would really, 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 really like is for them to go in, have their adventure. This could give the chance for Vegeta to get Super Saiyan 4. But what I would like to be explained, since they had like the little Neva buff and it goes into his DNA and it shows it and stuff like that, I made a whole video talking about how I think that the Guru buff, the Elder Kai buff, as well as the Neva buff are all along the same lines.
Yeah.
And my main base about this is just that Guru did the unlock potential. Piccolo asked if Dende could do it, and Dende was like, I'm not old enough. Guru was about 500 years old when he passed away. Neva is over 5 million. So to think that Neva could just have skills that would just supersede anything that we've seen from another Namekian
That makes sense.
is
Yeah.
not too far off. And in Elder Kai, they all come from the Demon Realm, specifically Demon Realm 2. So like to think that maybe he had maybe studied Namekian magic, or maybe he was taught by a Namekian, so he has his own form of the potential unlock. These are the things I was getting at. But you have this happen. What if Neva explains that what he essentially did was forced Goku's genes to evolve? And that using it again on Goku could be risky.
Yeah.
And so this would give Vegeta the opportunity, because he's kind of fresh. He hasn't had that happen to him yet.
Yeah.
You get the Vegeta in Super Saiyan 4. You get what people like. And then if the guy gets his 2 eyes, realize he doesn't have his third, but 2 tertian oculus is still really strong, this would bring the point back to where you could use the join bug. Get a fusion between Goku and Vegeta, have it go Super Saiyan 4. All the meatheads rejoice. You know, all the meatheads get their cool little fight. And for Neva to potentially be like, yeah, you guys can't have that happen again. Like, or maybe it burns out. We all know that fusions have a certain amount of burning out to deal with. If it was one of those too much power things, like give them a reason they can't actively go into Super Saiyan 4.
Yeah.
Again, if that's just a threshold that they needed to be forced through and they can't walk through themselves yet, that would be cool. Or maybe it would take somebody in the future who's already adjacent to grade 8 powers, cough, cough, Broly, to unlock that naturally. But Goku and Vegeta maybe are too far removed. They needed that magical buff. And then at the end of the day, if they can only imprison the guy or separate him from his eyes, they kind of destroyed the first eye easily enough. But all it would take is Majin Ku actually being a wise leader going, we can't have people knowing about these Oculuses and seeking them out all the time.
Yeah.
Because we can't ask for you guys all the time. So gathering the Dragon Balls, because we know that Ansu can do that. She has the power to do that with Do. Ku could just wish that everybody who has knowledge of the Oculuses just has that mind wipe.
Yeah.
And that would give an excuse for everybody that went into the demon realm to no longer remember it. And it could just sit in its own little corner until they want to bring it back in the story any moment.
Okay.
And I think that like that, a movie with that framework could satisfy the meatheads. It would pull the continuity back together as far as where it leads off. And I'm just like, okay, wait. I think it could be I think a movie could do a lot of things.
Yeah.
They just have to put they only need small tweaks here and there, I think, to make everything fit.
Yeah, I mean that sounds logical, reasonable. I don't see anything in your rough draft that actually seems like it contradicts like anything that pre-exists.
Zoe, please.
So-
Please.
So I mean that's not a terrible way of thinking. Speaking of things that break, so what are your thoughts on like some of the stuff that kind of got? I mean, obviously we have the quote unquote that people call it retcon of Battle of Gods that people are saying exists. Me personally, I don't think there's a retcon there. I think what Goku said at the end of the series clearly stated that he didn't have access to it. He knew it was there. He just had no means of knowing how to reach it.
Yep.
And just him being able to do it in the final couple episodes, like was because like even like when he was a kid and he transformed into Super Saiyan 4, like he looked at himself like what just happened to me. Like he has no like
Yes.
knowledge of
Thank
what just
you.
happened.
Bro looked at his hands and went, huh,
like between that and the final statement that he said, like I don't think there is a Battle of Gods like retcon of any sort. But I know there's like some little things here that still like I know some people still talk about. Like I know for me it's an issue, but it's not a big issue. It's the fact that Shin and Kibito are still unfused by the end of the series.
yeah, that could be a movie. Like they just that again, it's like it's a small point. They just needed to tie it up, but it's a small point.
Yeah, because I mean, because like it doesn't really break anything outside of the fact that at some point between then and what was it, the Universe 6 tournament where they run into them for the first time after however long it was, like the only thing that happens is Battle of Gods and Resurrection F. And they weren't involved in those conflicts at all. So I don't think it's really that big of an issue. I know I think it might have to be explained at some point, or they could just not do anything with it at all. And like, we just have to go with the headcanon of, oh, well, at some point they did have to fuse. So
yeah, it's like, you're not wrong with that. Like, I'm thinking about like a lot of people, that is their biggest gripe. Why did Goku not use Super Saiyan 3 or why didn't Goku use Super Saiyan 4 against Beerus? Why didn't Vegeta use Super Saiyan 3 against Beerus? And this may be headcanon or not, but like my thing is Super Saiyan 3, from what I've seen, Super Saiyan 3 has never been a like rage-based form.
no.
It has been like a conscious, I am going into this form and I'm using it this way. And if Vegeta, especially if Vegeta already felt like that form can't go the distance, like it has stamina issues, I feel like if he's just spazzing out and seeing red, like he's gonna be spazzing out in his most comfortable form plus the rage boost. And I think that is like that Super Saiyan 2 plus the rage. But when it comes to Goku, all they need to do, because like everybody's like, oh well, he could just transform into it. Bro, Goku technically, like, he found out Ultra Instinct for the first time in the TOP, then transformed into Ultra Instinct Sign again, and then transcended that to Ultra Instinct, mastered Ultra Instinct, and then right after that told Vegeta that he can't hit it anymore. And then in the Broly movie, he could not go into it.
Yeah, I actually saw people were actually talking about, like, I think it was a Reddit post, and I mean, Reddit is what it is, but I saw like some Reddit post where someone was saying that, like, oh, like you could probably, like, maybe he wasn't going UI in the Broly movie. Maybe he was trying to go Super Saiyan 4 in the Broly movie.
Oh my gosh.
Which is a cool idea.
That would have been cool.
It's a cool idea. I just don't know how that works because everything in Super happens before the Broly movie, and he never once tried to go for it at any point in that series.
That's that headcanon.
So it's like in what universe would he have had the thought of, like, okay, I'm going to try this, and then obviously you're unsuccessful. Like I don't know.
I mean, like, I think that's headcanon because I think that's what he tried to do just for UI. Like, that's how I always interpreted that silver hair. I thought he tried to dig deep and pull it out, and then his bank card declined and was like, "Nah, the best I can do is Super Saiyan Blue." And then he was like, "All right, bet," and then went Super Saiyan Blue. Like,
Yeah.
that's always how I looked at that. But at the same time, like, yeah, I think that like all they would have to do is just say that that is not a threshold that Goku can get. Neva pushed him through it, and he still was able to, because Goku has shown multiple times that he can hit a form and then still kind of really grasp how that form felt in his body and like replicate it to a degree.
Yeah.
He pretty much guessed, like he that's how he took God Key back with him. That's eventually how he gets UI back. And I really do think that they could just say the same thing for that, because it looked like he was training. It definitely was a huge transformation for emphasis, rivaling Super Saiyan 3 going off for him. So it's like, it's clearly not a master transformation. People are like, oh, you can just go into it again. It's clearly not a master transformation, because they give us like that back and forth. Him going Super Saiyan 3 was still kind of rough in Daima, whereas Vegeta was just like, and he was like in Super Saiyan 3. Like, Vegeta looked like he had thoroughly mastered the form, whereas Goku still needs to yell for like 10, 15 seconds to hit Super Saiyan 3, and then he had to dig even deeper for Super Saiyan 4. So all they have to do is like just put a singular line to be like, no matter how hard I try, I can't reach it again.
Yeah,
yeah, continuity's out.
I kind of look at it like him trying to reacquire UI versus him trying to reacquire Super Saiyan 4 are like two completely different states of being for him, right?
Mm-hmm.
So it's like, for UI, it's a little bit harder for him to be able to do it, as we know now in the Super manga, that like there needs to be a like some sort of semblance of like calm and like tranquility in order to really be able to access that. Something that Saiyan traits and DNA make it very hard for you to be able to acquire that. So him having a hard time trying to go into UI definitely is understandable. Super Saiyan 4, it makes more sense that he was able to immediately go into that, because it literally happened not even like just on a grand scale, like maybe that whole fight was like 3 hours, like not even like a couple hour, like an hour or two like beforehand did he achieve that form. So like that feeling of being in that form is fresh, it's new, like it's not, and it happened in such a short time. So for him to be able to like rip off his shirt, go Super Saiyan 4 from Super Saiyan 3, I feel like in that particular moment is just easy because it's familiar. Whereas UI was the first time he did it. He didn't know what it was when he first went into doing it. And that kind of just happened on a whim too. Like he was practically on the verge of death in order to really acquire that form.
Yeah.
So I think it's just two completely different states for him in terms of how he has access to them. Now,
me too.
Now I think for Super Saiyan 3 Vegeta, because I think a lot more people have an issue with Super Saiyan 3 Vegeta than they do for Super Saiyan 4 Goku. And two, and
screaming about both.
Yeah,
weird. It's like Twitter's wild.
Yeah, social media is wild for that. But it's like Vegeta, I think, makes more sense because I feel like for Goku, it's an easier form for him to stay in, because at the end of the day, Goku's more of a brawler than Vegeta. Goku would rather throw fists than constantly be throwing ki blasts in a fight. And so I feel like since it's energy versus, being physical, the stamina for Super Saiyan 3 would last better in fisticuffs rather than blasting. Vegeta has always been known to just hurl ki blasts and create like the most flashiest moves like known in the series. So Super Saiyan 3 for him, like, clearly is like not a form that he can just whip out and use like Goku does, despite the fact that he tries to shrug it off like he's able to do so. And
it's like, continue.
And like we have context in Super as to why he doesn't go Super Saiyan 3 too. Whereas like where it's a little harder with Super Saiyan 4, because it's like there's no mention of it anywhere in Super. At least with Super Saiyan 3 Vegeta, we have context. We know that probably based off of his experience in the Demon Realm, going Super Saiyan 3 against Beerus, knowing full well that Goku lost to Beerus in Super Saiyan 3, he knows that he cannot use that form efficiently enough knowing full well that his rival couldn't do it. Like there was no reason for him to go Super Saiyan 3 in that fight.
I believe so too. That
Uh,
makes a lot of sense to me.
yeah, and then obviously, um, obviously, like when Trunks comes back to the present and he's training with Vegeta, and he's like, "Oh, go Super Saiyan 3, just like Goku did," and he just laughs it off, like knowing full well that there's something stronger than Super Saiyan 3 that they have power to. Like again, it's one of those things where now not only is it like more logical to show Trunks like, okay, like you saw Super Saiyan 3, but that's not the extent of what we're able to do. Plus, it's also just a means for Vegeta just to show off, like, show off his current power. Like, it's just a big flex to his own son. Yeah, the gripe with Super Saiyan 3 Vegeta to me, like, I feel like is non-existent. I think there's enough there to justify why he doesn't use it again. Do I wish we see it more? Because maybe yes and no. I think in a way I would like to see it more because I actually, despite what a lot of people say, I actually love his Super Saiyan 3 design.
Oh, dude, I think it's really cool. Sometimes from the back, it looks a little silly. Like playing Legends, I'm looking at it and I'm like, okay, that's like, we thought Beast was looking some way, but this is wild to me. But I mean, I think the design looks good. They fixed his hairline for real.
Yeah,
like his hairline in Hero Super Saiyan 3 is an abomination.
Yeah,
like burn it with fire. But like, actually, no, you shed a lot of light on Vegeta not really using it in Super, and I like that a lot. I think that a lot of people are just like, well, yeah, they're just looking to punch holes in it because just as easily as you could be like, oh, retcon, you can just apply logic like you just did and it works. Vegeta had every reason not to use it later. And when it comes to like Super Saiyan 4, I think the animation tells the biggest thing. People are like, oh, he can use it at will. Oh, he said he always had it. We just talked about how he was looking at his own hands in shock. On top of that, I think it was really telling that we didn't just see Neva shoot a energy ball at him and then he glowed and then was like, oh, I can do it now and popped. It went into his DNA and showed him being like reformatted.
yeah.
And then like he popped everything. And then for the GT fans saying it's what they call an ass pull. I mean, we literally had pliers to pull a tail out of Goku's literal butt. Like I don't know what to tell you. Like you guys are throwing stones from a glass house right now. Like you have the hypothetical butt pull or the literal pull
Yeah,
from one's butt. So it is what it is. But like no, I think that's very true. There's very easy to see in-house reasons why those forms haven't necessarily come up again. I do think this will be a really cool way to backdoor Broly's future transformations. And
yeah.
actually, because of the way the hair is and the eyebrowless nature of Super Saiyan 3, what if that's like Vegeta once he masters Ultra Ego? What if like he has a very much so purple-esque looking version of his Super Saiyan 3 hair
Oh man,
mastering Ultra Ego?
that would
Because
be really
that would
cool.
be like if he called it Super Ego, or would he call it Ultra Vegeta 2?
Ultra
Like,
Vegeta ego, Ultra ego.
like
Yeah, it's I don't know.
I'm telling you, man, Ultra like that would be there would be some really cool things that they can do. And I think that Toyotaro, being a general fan, making loads of headcanon on his own, he would be the type of person to try to bring those back full
Yeah.
circle. And we keep everybody's joking online. They're like Ultra Instinct plus SS4 equals SS5. And that would be some of the most hilarious things ever. But I don't put it past him. And I think he could pull it off in a way that looks good. But I'm excited. I think Daima has given us room to talk about Dragon Ball again.
Yeah.
And not just be focused on what's already happened in the past, even though this is technically a prequel.
Yeah. And I also love Vegeta and Super Saiyan 3 Vegeta's design too, because like there's like a little notion that like his hair like towards the bottom kind of extends down the back and it kind of gives him like a regal lion's mane. Like in the back.
You know what?
Which is actually kind of cool.
Yeah. No, you're right. 100%.
Yeah, like
and,
it's
also,
very fitting.
Oh, sorry. Yeah. See, I'm not a Vegeta stan. I have a bunch of friends that are Vegeta stans. I'm Team Gohan over here. But when it comes to Vegeta, I think that Daima might finally prove that even if you say that Goku has more raw ki than Vegeta, I think Vegeta is just proves that he is a genius
Mm-hmm.
compared to Goku in terms of key manipulation, in terms of his like fighting prowess. Like Goku has that battle IQ, and Goku is that main character. But Goku did not tell us how long it took him to gain Super Saiyan 2. We just kind of, or Super Saiyan 3. We just kind of know that over the course of being dead for about 7 years, he reached Super Saiyan 2 and then was able to train while his body had no limitations like a heart that could explode or anything
Yeah.
to go into Super Saiyan 3. Daima is set what, 3 months after the Majin Buu saga?
Yeah.
And in those 3 months, Vegeta has not only learned how to go Super Saiyan 3, but in the Buu saga, now by Battle of the Gods, Goku just pops Super Saiyan 3 to fight Beerus. There's like barely any startup time. But in Dragon Ball Z, every time Goku went Super Saiyan 3, that dude had to put his back into it.
Yeah.
Like he had to put his entire back into it. Vegeta, being the second tier Aura Pharma of the series, hit Super Saiyan 3 and like what? The first transformation was not even like really like it was a bit, but they had to make it super flashy.
Yeah.
But it wasn't something that he had to be like, don't touch me, don't even look at me while I transform. Like they were mid-fight and he still powered up to the point where the Tamagami had to back up because the explosion was so big.
Yeah.
And then when we get to Super Saiyan Super Saiyan 3 as an adult, where he had better key control, he had his like, you know, his actual settings back. That dude just started beating Goma's cheeks and then just mid-flying turned Super Saiyan 3 and kept going in. And I was like, so in 3 months, Vegeta has found out Super Saiyan 3, dare I say master it. And I don't, even if he doesn't have the same gas tank that Goku does while he's in the form, his transformations look effortless compared to Goku's transformations into the form. It was just like crazy for me.
Like it harkens back to the Saiyan saga where it was when they faced off, where it was literally what was the classification? It was like prodigy versus low class. It was someone who had innate potential versus someone who had to work for what they had. And like that, what you just said basically further exemplifies that in that, yeah, like Goku is a natural learner, but he had to work for everything that he had to be where he's at now. Whereas Vegeta, like, yeah, he saw Goku go into Super Saiyan 3 one time, and he's like, nah, Cap, I'm going to do that exact same thing. And he did it within 3 months. Like,
see, we play card games. We both play card games. Goku grinds on the ladder. He goes to locals multiple times a week, and he comes up with the regional winning deck list. But Vegeta is the person that sees that deck list, goes, I don't really agree with these techs, retechs it, and wins like 3 more regionals afterwards. But he will never shine as hard as Goku because he was not the first person to coin the deck.
Yeah.
He was just the guy to net deck it,
yeah.
but then perfect it. So like I feel like that's literally the type of players they are. And then Gohan sits in the background, scrubs out of like 5 regionals, and then for some reason he just comes in clutch and wins nationals. Only to not do anything in Worlds. Like that is what Gohan does.
Poor Gohan,
like,
man.
Just has a really good run sometimes.
I know you mentioned Super Saiyan 5 being a potential possibility, and while I do understand that could be a possibility, it's going to be a little bit of a hot take for me. I hope to God that doesn't happen. I
think that Toyotaro can do better.
I have been since day one. I have been a hater of Super Saiyan 5. I think the design is way too much. That the outfit that got shared around the internet, I think like where does that even come from? And like if we're gonna complain about Beast Gohan and how ridiculous his hair is, how are we gonna do that when Super Saiyan 5 has existed for 20 more years than that? Like I don't understand like the love for Super Saiyan 5. I feel like what they're doing now currently, I think, is just a lot better for Dragon Ball than just going down the number hierarchy of forms.
No, I can.
That's just me, though.
I can agree with that. No, I can definitely agree with that. I think first and foremost, I think Beast Gohan slander is so wild because, like, okay, yes, it is funny how he didn't hit this in the TOP, but then he hit it when Piccolo got folded for the like 19,000th time.
Yeah,
that the catalyst was a little funny, but everybody glazes Super Saiyan 2 Gohan and then just doesn't, and then gets mad at Beast when they're pretty much the same transformation.
Yeah.
Everybody is like, "Oh, well, it was earned in the Cell Saga." I'm like, to me as a stan of the character, Super Saiyan 2 Gohan was Gohan's worst mental just space in the entirety of the series. Bro didn't want to fight. Bro was forced to fight again. Bro was watching every single one of his friends get like slaughtered by these Cell Juniors. And then on top of that, he had a robot who was a pacifist and just wanted to look at birds, willing to give out his life, fail, and then get his head stomped in. And then Cell had to be like, wow, that's crazy. If only you weren't trash, you could have saved him. And Gohan snapped. That was a mental breakdown, a fresh minty bee. And Gohan hit Super Saiyan 2. At least going into Beast for me, that was more of a conscious choice. Piccolo was gassing him up. Gohan knew that nobody else was going to come and save him. And he was like, he snapped. But like, I'm loving the direction that Toyotaro is going with Beast. Him training with it. I mean, him stepping out of his house onto his lawn and going Beast in some flip-flops was peak for me. I was like, this guy has trained and I love it. But like, everybody idolizes Super Saiyan 2 and hates on Beast when I feel like they represent kind of the same thing. Gohan literally has that dog in him.
Yeah.
And like, it's just like that. But it's definitely weird for me. I think there's just a lot of fans that they hate change and they're always going to be stuck in the past and say that the past is like the best.
Yeah. And I mean, I could be critical of the form too. Like, obviously, its execution could have been handled better and not just be an homage to Super Saiyan 2. Like, that's like, obviously, that is a little bit of an issue, and that could have been handled a bit better. But like, man, when you just saw the raw aura that he was displaying after the transformation, and then he gets punched by Cell Max, and like, you just hear the raw animalistic deep cut of just, is that all you got? Like, that sent chills down my spine, dude.
When the fist stopped not on his chest but his raw aura, literally he had physical aura, and the shockwave went for like a mile behind him, and just like you said, like, is that all you got, followed by the fine, I guess it's my turn.
It really was his turn.
Dog man, like, that was just absolutely insane. And like, it was hard to top that. Like, I wish it was for longer in the movie. They definitely gave him a Gogeta-esque like moment. But it was just really cool. And I do agree with you. I wish it was brought about under different circumstances. That was the other part of my video that I was talking about with like where this Namekian magic could have come from. Because I was thinking to myself that, you know, Shinron is a demon world like magic thing.
Yeah.
And it gave Piccolo his orange Piccolo form. You have Goku in his Super Saiyan 4 form, and you have Gohan in his Beast form. All three of those, like, some people are wondering if this is partially like the Namekian elder technique from Guru finally working its magic. You know, you have I was just saying, all these magic sources for these unlocked potentials have been from Demon World.
Yeah.
At least three of the four from Namekian.
They're all because the only people that are accessing this level of power are people who have been influenced by Namekian magic of some sort. So yeah, it makes sense.
They all have red eyes.
Yeah,
like, I'm like, no, hold up here. And so I'm kind of sitting here. I'm like, I wonder if there is a connection. And I think that's the cool thing for me about Toyotaro. He is a super nerd, and if there's anybody that can try to dig up and rebranch the connections, it's him. And I think it would not take much to loop Daima and all the lore we just got into the continuity of Super, because he truly is a person that, like, one example I love using is when it comes to the retellings of Dragon Ball Super in the manga. When we watched the Dragon Ball Super anime, we had no reason why Trunks just had the most unlucky RNG of all time for having his future world just like bodied by random threats. It just keeps happening. We had no reason. We actually, like, I keep forgetting that Whis is actively training Vegeta and Goku to be gods of destruction. That was the whole point. I will train you, but if we give you that, like, if we tell you to clock in, one of you guys is gonna have to clock in. And I keep forgetting that. That was the initial agreement. That's the only reason why he agreed to really train them, to, like, that's the kind of thing. And then they get to sit there and gain all these buffs and these techniques, but there is a purpose to it. And then you read the manga that Toyotaro got to do with the retelling, and you find out cool things like Trunks goes through all of the Buu saga, but they never got to awaken Buu. But Shin helped him. Shin dies to Dabura, and because Shin dies, there's no Beerus.
Yeah.
Because there is no Beerus, Whis is not there. Because Whis is not there, Zamasu was like, that realm has no supervision. I'm setting up shop there.
Yeah.
And I'm like, that small
really cool
little chapter, it gave us all that, you know?
Yeah.
Like, you have Zamasu fighting Goku and Vegeta, and it's Goku's turn, and Goku realized that he could not beat Fuse Zamasu. So he puts up his hand. You have Vegeta going, that idiot, that technique isn't finished, and Goku yells Hakai and evaporates half of Zamasu's body, but it's not a full Hakai, so it doesn't work. And just that singular couple of pages is like, oh yeah, they are being trained to be God of Destructions. And the fact that Goku tried to Hakai a dude because he realized he couldn't meet him with the hands, and the fact that all he had to do was stance up, and Vegeta was like, damn it, Kakarot. That lets me know right then in those couple pages, they're both learning these techniques. Vegeta is either right there with him or comparable to where Goku's progress is. And I'm like, these are little details that would have gone so hard in the anime.
Yeah.
I'm not saying Toyotaro swings 1,000, bats 1,000, because Roshi dodging Jiren's moves makes no sense regardless of how you spin it. I don't care. Like, I like the idea that Roshi was knocking on the door of Ultra Instinct, being as skilled as he is. But he just can't be dodging Jiren. They could have done that against anybody else. They could have done that against literally.
For me, I always saw that paneling as not necessarily him tapping into Ultra Instinct, but that he has like over 100 years of martial arts experience and background, and that just experience alone can get you very far in terms of any sort of like brawl of some sort. Now, I mean, if you could refresh me. There might have been a mention of him tapping into Ultra Instinct that I'm just not remembering, but
it wasn't Roshi tapping into Ultra Instinct, but when Roshi was dodging Jiren, Whis like started paying attention to that fight, and Whis like mentioned that Roshi's techniques were like not borderline to angelic, but he was just like, that guy moves like mortals don't normally move.
Yeah.
And it was him essentially telling Goku to like think back on his training and watch how your master moves, that got Goku to be like, huh. And then like it continued and spiraled, and he got Ultra Instinct later in there. So they're basically just, and I love that shout out. That part of the shout out I like. Master Roshi is so experienced that this man is like borderline angelic in movement.
Yeah.
But he's just not. He's not there. He's not that guy, but he is that guy.
Because I mean, if we look at that fight and that paneling, like we know that like if Roshi like slipped and did get punched by Jiren, he'd be out. He's good. He's done. Like
evaporated. So that's why I was like, that could have been like really. That could have just been anybody. Give me anybody, because I don't expect Roshi to throw hands with anybody above the top 30 percentile in the TOP.
Yeah.
But like, just give us a fight versus somebody, a weaker character in the TOP, and having Roshi do the same things and having Whis say the same things, and I'd be like, believable.
Yeah.
I get what they were trying to do, be like, Roshi is so divine in movement that he can dodge Jiren, but that's just not it.
Yeah.
Jiren was punching so fast that people thought he had telekinesis. That just cut the cap. Like, people were looking at him, they were like, he's hitting him with his mind, and then like Goku gets Ultra Instinct, and he's like, "No, that dude's just actually punching like hella fast." Like I don't know, I didn't see this before. I'm apparently I'm like my son. My vision gets better as I transform because I see him swinging now. This is crazy. So it's just there are things, but I think overall, it takes a super nerd to make those connections. And it's nothing against the creator himself, but I think that Toei themselves, I think, are notorious for just being like, rule of cool. Fans will explain it themselves somehow. We're just going to make things do what they do. Yeah. But I really did like that Toyotaro is actively explaining things. Yeah. Some people were so upset. Oh, sorry. I was just saying some people were so upset when Vegeta did not end Granola. But I thought it was like Chef's Kiss masterpiece, how Vegeta was about to end Granola, realized that he would have torched the entire city with Granola, and literally was like, sorry, Beerus, I just can't be that guy anymore. And lost Ultra Ego, and then proceeded to lose the fight. And I was like, that's character growth. Like, he lost the fight.
He had the wherewithal to no restraint. And in a form like that, that's actually kind of hard to, like, hold on to. So, yeah. So we're coming up on an hour, but there's one more point of discussion I think we should talk about, obviously, and that's the fights in Daima, and obviously the finale. So
Okay.
let's talk finale to kind of get the whole grasp of the series out of the way. What were your thoughts on the finale?
Rushed.
Rushed.
Rushed, and my expectations were horrendously hurt. When it comes to the finale, I guess I'll just get the salt out of the way before the sweet. Glorio had no lasting impact. I was really hoping for him to have a big moment where there'd be like a magical transformation from Arinsu, or maybe a move that he was hiding from Goku, because I always thought he was hiding his power. I
Yeah.
didn't think that he just literally fought Goku once and was like, dang, he really is that guy. All right, I guess I'm never trying to fight him again. Like, I thought he was maybe hiding his true power, but nope. I thought it was a total waste not giving Vegeta Super Saiyan 4. Like Toei is not beating the allegations of just having him play second fiddle. And I remember a YouTuber said that Vegeta getting Super Saiyan 3 was 100% confirmation that Goku would get Super Saiyan 4, because there's no way they let Vegeta catch up to Goku. And I was like, don't do this. And then they did it. I was
Yeah.
like, oh my God, no. And that hurts. So I think the finale was cool. Them not getting out of Demon Realm was really weird. It just felt so rushed. There were just so many things that don't even feel resolved. They ended on the gag. They didn't even get to go home. We didn't see Gohan once.
Yeah.
I don't really know what's going on here. So it's just, the finale was cool. It was a spectacle. We saw some cool things. The Kamehameha through 3 separate demon realms was just insane.
That was one of the coolest things I think they've ever done in Dragon Ball. That was so cool.
It was cool.
That
And,
literally
the whole
showed
Fujoma-
that literally just shows that Goku is the savior. Like he is the hero of the story type of moment.
Bro opened up borders to all 3 demon realms.
And what's funny is that it was unintentional. Like Goku had no intention of like connecting all the demon realms together, but it just happened anyway.
There's no way that you can't tell me that Goku just like caught like 8,000 demon realm bodies. Like, you just can't tell me like there wasn't like a Fisher cruiser line on to a couple Krakens, some sea life, and then it went through Demon Realm 2, and like
he invincible the entire demon realm.
Like I'm saying, like bro, literally, there's no shot. You can't tell me that like there wasn't just like a guy sitting here just like, man, I love hamburgers from Demon Burger. The guy just evaporated. Like, you just can't. Their people definitely got faded for that. There were casualties, 100%. There's gonna be a villain who comes back in Super, and his whole backstory was that his entire family got murdered at a wedding due to Goku's commandment. Just ripping through Demon Realm 3. And that's it.
Yeah.
That's literally it.
No, I agree with you. I think if the final fight at the end, which I will say first that Goma surprised me. The entire lead up to the finale, like I was sitting there and I'm like, okay, like Goma can't be the final boss. Like he's like this guy's not, like I can't take Goma seriously. He's done nothing up until this point but sit around and kind of beckon orders at people, and that was kind of it. But like as soon as he got his third eye like power up and like he started like doing stuff, I was like, okay. I'm like, okay, he's more compelling now. He's definitely, I'm more interested in this fight against him now than I was in the first 15 episodes of the series. I will say that I think what they probably should have done was they should have taken the first half of the final episode and make the second to last episode like a longer episode, and then just using the final episode wrap up any leftover like things. Like it would have been cool. Like getting a little more backstory on Glorio. It would have been cool to at least have some sort of joke there that like I don't know, like Hibis comes up and he's like Goku, you can't drop this, and it's the bag of all the bugs, and he's like, oh yeah, I kind of forgot I had those. Like having something like that there. Like they could have done so much more with the finale to kind of like wrap it up a little bit nicer. I did like the ending. I thought the ending was like very wholesome.
Oculus is at the 7-Eleven.
Yeah, like well, more so like when they were saying like goodbye to everybody.
Awesome.
I thought that was really cool. I got a huge laugh when Pansy's sitting there like waving Vegeta's hand goodbye because he doesn't want to be involved in the goodbye aspect.
And the fact that like he had to let her do that, you know?
Yeah.
So like at the end of the day, like it was It was cute. I do think that when it comes to the finale, like a short thing on Goma, I needed to see more of him in his base form being menacing because at this moment, I don't think Goma was the villain. I think the Eye was the villain.
Yeah.
Goma with the Eye was like the equivalent of like when you're playing a JRPG and you over level and then you start facing bosses and they should be devastating to you, but you just have too many stats.
Yeah.
Like you're not doing anything out of the order, like out of roll pocket. You're just hitting them and it hurts a lot. And they hit you with like some like tier 3 combo, wombo combo, and you're just like, but I have 8 times more health than I should at this point of the game. So
Yeah.
I mean, I guess. And that's like how Goma just felt to me. He was never menacing. Um, you were talking about the fights in general. Daima did the fights justice.
Yeah.
I will say time and time again, and people may think this is a hot take, people may get really mad. When I look at the entire series as a whole, I don't actually like Dragon Ball Z's choreography. It was all about fast punches and a bunch of ki blasts in most cases. There was very little martial arts going in Dragon Ball Z. You got strong chops and hammer fists and punches going everywhere. But Dragon Ball really tried to flex Goku being a martial artist.
Yeah.
And when you go to Dragon Ball Super, yes, you have a lot of the Z, but they do in every now and then really flash that he's a martial artist. In the movies, almost always did.
Yeah.
Goku lining up the 1-inch punch on Frieza's sternum. Dragon Ball Super Broly really showing him get into his stance, hitting Broly with a standing over the shoulder judo throw. Like there were so many things. Him catching the punch and rolling with it into that throw. Like there were so many cool things there. And I think Daima, anytime they show us, they remind us that Goku is a martial artist first and foremost, is a moment I'm happy. And Daima did that. All of his fights outside of Super Saiyan 4, and I guess the Super Saiyan 3 fights, showed you that he was a martial artist. And then you move over to the Super Saiyan 4 fight where he's supposed to be more animalistic and instinctual, and it made sense.
Yeah.
And then we also just saw exactly where Vegito gets his entire arrogance, swag, and fighting style from, because Vegeta going Super Saiyan 3 and refusing to use his hands for most of that fight was just hilarious to me.
Yeah.
Like, guy was just stomping on people. And he did it with Goma, too. Just flying around with his arms crossed, kicking people.
Yeah. Like, we know where Vegito's, we know where, like, Vegito's, like, and Gogeta's, like, fighting stances actually lie. Like, we know Vegito's definitely more of Vegeta's fighting style. We know Gogeta's more of Goku's fighting style. Stuff like that. Yeah, and I appreciate that part of Daima as well. Like, I maybe don't feel exactly the same as you do with Z in terms of like the fights. Like there is something cool about just like seeing like the same repetitive like punches and kicks in a fight and having that animation be reused throughout the entire battle. But like Z also had like some really good choreography moments. Like I know Goku versus Cell was a really big like one in terms of animation. Like that was a really cool fight sequence. Gohan completely bodying the Cell Juniors was also like really cool choreography wise.
I talked about the strong chops and like the kicks.
Yeah, like there's,
I guess
there's moments in Z, but like I get where you're coming from because a lot of the time it is just like, oh, they're a blur, they're moving so fast, I can't see what they're doing, but there's also like little moments in Z too where like you can really see the martial arts come through.
I can see that. I think the thing that really gets me is that in Z, I feel like a lot of the fighters fight the same. I think that's my biggest thing. Whereas like in Dragon Ball, there was a 100% difference between Yamcha's fighting style, Roshi's fighting style, and Goku's fighting style. And with Z, everybody's fast, everybody's strong. But then you get to like Dragon Ball Superhero where Gohan is pulling off pro wrestler moves for no reason.
Yeah.
Like he hit a dude with like he hit a dude with like a full like drop. Like there were just so many things like that. But then you have Broly, and Broly, one of my favorite things about looking between Goku and Vegeta was you saw clear as day Goku, Vegeta, and Broly. Broly was a brawler who was just swinging to swing. There was no polish on his attacks. He was just strong arming things. Vegeta was very polished, but it was like the difference between watching, I don't know, like a traditionally Eastern martial artist versus a Krav Maga practitioner.
Yeah.
Vegeta was just striking for efficiency and power. His moves didn't look like particularly flashy, but he was dealing that damage. Whereas Goku looked polished and you could point out specific martial arts that Goku was using. Vegeta just looked like he was piecing you up, but it did look like surgical.
Yeah.
And I loved seeing that every fighter has their distinct fighting styles.
Yeah.
And I feel like they only flex that when they have the budget to flex that. Because even here, Vegeta, it's the same thing. Goku was doing martial arts, and Vegeta was just like systematically hurting people.
Yeah.
And like that was just like that. I love seeing that difference. But like, yeah, I think that overall the fights were great in Daima. There wasn't really one that was lacking.
What was your favorite of the bunch?
Oh, that's hard.
I have one mine in mind, and it might be a little controversial, but
Okay. So I have to split it up. And I know it sucks because you're asking for one favorite. In terms of comedy, it's going to 100% be the club goers that wanted to get revenge on Vegeta.
yeah,
And Vegeta was just like,
that was
I
good.
needed somebody to punch. And then them getting to a point where they were like, okay, maybe this green dude's easier. And Piccolo was just like, sorry, wrong door number 2. And just like started beating them up too. In terms of technicality, it was Goku testing against the forces of the Third Demon Realm Royal Army.
Okay,
Because that
yeah.
really just flexed a lot of Goku's martial artists, and he was just like, or martial arts skills, and it was awesome. In terms of overall swag, Vegeta Super Saiyan 3. That was just
Okay.
cocky as hell. And then in terms of rawness, it has to be the first Goku Super Saiyan 4. Not the adult, but the mini.
Okay.
He was just completely raw there.
Yeah.
But I like them all for different reasons. Those are my favorite fights, but they are all my favorites for different reasons.
Okay. Yeah. No, that makes sense. I was gonna say the Gendarmerie like forces fight with Goku, like it is one of my favorites there, just because yeah, like you see the technicality. He's finally in sync with his mini body. He's using the power pole in the fight. He's showing up like what like all the training that he's done over the years through martial arts. Like it just signifies everything there. My favorite fight, and this is going to be the controversial fight. I know a lot of people are gonna say like Super Saiyan 4. Either of the Super Saiyan 4 fights is going to be their favorite fight. But my favorite fight of the series, I think, is definitely against Tamagami number 3. Like, there is just, like, the animation in this show has been fantastic and top-notch all the way through. And I hope that whatever the future project comes down the line, like, that's the animation style that they decide to go with. But something about the Tamagami number 3 fight, like it's a technical fight. Goku is being very precise in what moves he's blocking and where he's swinging. The fact that he was able to block Tamagami 3's hammer with the power pole was really cool and threw me off because it really got me thinking, like, what is that pole actually made out of? And then it all came down to, and then like obviously like the fight itself felt like a fight. Like I know like the Super Saiyan 4 fight at the end with Goma is flashy, and there's a lot of like actual fisticuffs to be had there, but it's a big guy versus a much smaller guy, and it's kind of hard to see at times in that fight where the punches are landing and how effective those punches can actually be in certain views. Whereas with the Tamagami 3 fight, like you could feel the impact of every single one of those hits, whether it be to Goku or Tamagami number 3, and you know which one of those actually mattered. Finally culminating with a very visually impressive Kamehameha that completely like blew 3 out of the water. And just shut the whole fight down completely. It was pure cinema to me.
What you were just saying, like to add on to that, like, because I completely agree with that. Like it completely slipped my mind, but the moment you were like, hot take, my favorite fight, I was like, Tamagami 3. It was a quintessential Goku moment. He matched his opponent at every angle. He only brought out the pole to fight with the hammer. It flexed his battle IQ to the max. Tamagami 3 was much bigger than him in stature, so he used his speed and nimbleness. He went through his legs. He attacked his knees to just get him off balance. And when he blocked the hammer, he knew he couldn't block it in raw strength. So he put the pole between the mountain and like the hammer to use like the mountain there, and the pole is like leverage. That was amazing. And the moment he broke the hammer, he put the pole away to go to fisticuffs because he was like, I'm matching you. Like, this is a challenge and I'm having fun. Tamagami 3 started using ki, and that's the first time Goku used ki in that fight.
Yep.
The moment Tamagami threw a blast of magic, Goku was like, okay, so ki's on the table, and started throwing it. And then, like, at the end, that was just super impressive. And the moment the Tamagami used all of his focus to, like, throw the energy blast out, Goku was already on the next move. That whole fight was quintessential Goku. That is,
Yep.
like, who he is as a fighter and a character, pure battle IQ, and trying to test his limits. And I thought that was awesome.
And the cherry on top too, and obviously it delves into the Toriyama humor too, but like the cherry on top for me too was the fact that that like he had to do like the puzzle at the end, the ball under the cup trick. Obviously that and like it was a very simple game for Goku to solve. Only Goku could solve that. And like, cause like Vegeta's question with 2 was so much harder.
That was so funny.
The question for Ku against 1 was so much harder. So it's like okay, so that puzzle is very fitting for Goku, and it's like you said, like it basically equates to like what Goku's expertise actually lies in, where his skill level is, not just as a fighter but as a person, and then the cherry on top being the fact that like Tamagami was influenced by Goku in his fight with him. He's practicing the Kamehameha too. It's like it's all great. Like that whole episode was fantastic.
I remember watching the little 3-cup Monty thing that he was doing. And my first thought of that when I was watching it, taking my notes, is I'm like, the Z Fighters be throwing hands at almost light speed. Like, how is he not going to be able to track the cup? And then when he was just like, it's over there, I was like, okay, that makes sense. Like, they have to literally have kinetic tracking way faster than that just to have gone through half the fights they've gone through in Z. So I was like, is he going to lose track of this cup? I didn't expect the Dragon Ball to be all over the air, but like, I was already kind of thinking that. I think for everything that people talk about for Daima, and what it upsets or what it breaks in terms of continuity, the one thing I don't hear enough people talking about is that Deborah is the biggest fumbler of all time. That bro, they were like, so the good news, we stole the eye from your dad. Oh, great. The bad news, we lost it. It doesn't matter. This is all we need. Bro, no, it doesn't. If Deborah just like not fumbled the bag, that bro would have cooked the entirety of the Z saga. He was already like a Super Saiyan 2 level threat almost. And with the eye, like that, it literally would have been over. He would have annihilated my boy.
Mm-hmm.
He would have ran through the rest of the squad. They would have freed Boo. And the moment Deborah was like, "Oh, I don't think we should trust that guy," and Bobity's like, "You have no choice," Deborah would be like, "Actually, I do." And it just would have. He would have ended the entire series. So like him, it's just hilarious to me that him not having the eye, him being the only Supreme Demon King in like millennia to not have that eye in his possession, just caused him to like take unnecessary L's. It just blows my mind.
And it's probably without the eye too. That's probably the reason why he got influenced in the first place. Because if he had the eye, I don't think he would have been controlled by Babidi. He would have just Thanos snapped Babidi out of existence and it would have been done.
Straight up. What a miss. What a miss.
Yeah. But all in all, I think you and I can agree that like Daima was a very fun run all the way through. Animation is superb. Humor is on point for Toriyama and what he likes to do with his storytelling. The grand sense of like adventure, which has always been more of his forte than anything action oriented. It fits more with this story than not. And outside of a couple of fumbles, outside of a couple of missing things, whether it be pacing or just unrealized potential with certain characters or a lackluster finale. Like, I think overall, any negative gripe that I think people have with Daima currently right now, I think it's going to have like the Phantom Menace, like thought pattern where people 10 years from now are going to look back on it and realize, oh, well, it really wasn't all that bad.
Yeah, I don't know. I agree. I have one quick last question for you.
Yeah.
Because you keep talking about the humor, and I think we are both fans of Toriyama, not just Dragon Ball Z, but Toriyama and his work. What was the moment that had you laugh the loudest, or maybe 2 moments, because I
Two
think
moments.
there's
Okay.
one moment that auto locks in,
Yeah, I
and
think
then there's gonna be another moment.
so. I think the one that you and I are gonna 100% agree on is the sudsy bath scene. like
Yeah,
like
that was
thing at the end.
unreal. Vegeta, Prince of all Gooners, like that dude is like that thing with the swiftness. Like he stopped fighting, he mastered Ultra Instinct. Bro was like this close to being touched by 2 hands, and he dipped out of both of them to get down. Nah, Prince of all Gooners was
Yeah,
goated.
he had his priorities set. Like he is
Locked in.
he is a man of the people, and we respect him for it. In terms of my second favorite, that's tough because there were a lot of moments in the show that genuinely got a laugh out of me. I mean, obviously, like the Hibis comment with Bulma and Vegeta was obviously really funny to me. Obviously, like I already mentioned, like the pansy waving Vegeta's arm is like not only characteristic, but it makes sense, but like it's just funny in general. I think. He's
accessing those memory banks.
Yeah, because it's weird for me because it's like I remember that there were a lot of funny moments in the series for me that genuinely got a laugh out of me. The problem is that like the humor in the series didn't stick with me like some of the action scenes did.
Okay.
And maybe that's just because, you know, we've become so accustomed to like what Dragon Ball is, which is an action shonen, like first and foremost. So we always are going to remember the fights over like the little conversations or funny moments that are to be had there. But I mean, I will say, since I can't think of a second one, I will say that like you can tell that whenever there was a funny moment that you know that Toriyama was having a genuinely good time making the series. And I think that really does just like encapsulate like what Daima is as a whole. And it's just like Daima as a whole is, even with the issues that might be there that people might have, like it's a love letter to his magnum opus. And it's
100%.
And it's something that despite the fact that he wasn't able to really see the final product, like I know that like when he finally did put the pen down, that he was perfectly proud and happy with what he did. So
oh heck yeah. I mean, no, I 100% agree with that. I do have to. I think there was one moment that made me laugh. I think just as hard. I mean, maybe less hard because the sudsy bath moment, crazy. Especially compiled with the fact that Hibis outed Vegeta as a boob guy earlier in the series when Vegeta was arguing with Bulma about turning back into adults. She's like, "We need to stay kids forever," and he's like, "We're turning back into adults," and Hibis was like, "You're a boob guy, aren't you?" And he just like starts blushing, and Piccolo's like, "Oh, he's right." I was like, "Brother, there's no way this is the gag right now." But I think the thing that made me like bust out laughing, just like the suds scene, was when Neva was giving the whole rundown on Namek culture, and he was like, "A Namek must never use their powers for violence," and then like Goku looks over, Vegeta looks over, Bulma looks over, and Piccolo's like,
Piccolo, yeah.
"Why are you looking at me? Stop it!" I was like, "Dog, like there's no way." Like nobody was willing to say anything, but everybody was like,
"Yeah, didn't you do that, Piccolo?" Like,
no, that part killed me.
One final question, because I know we got to wrap up here soon. But like, do you think that Neva was a self-insert for Toriyama? Like, do you think like he pictured himself in that role? Because like there was that one, because I think it was that there was one, I can't remember the scene specifically, but there was one scene where I think it was to Goku, where like Goku looked over at him and Neva just winked at him. And I thought to that moment, and I'm like, that's not Neva doing that. That's Toriyama.
See, I have two minds of it, because I think that in terms of like the omnipotence and him being the guiding hand, I feel like that can clearly be seen as a self-insert. But then I have to think that Neva didn't forget a damn thing over the course of 5 million years. That's the opposite of Toriyama. like that, I don't know, man. He had that elephant memory, like giga elephant memory.
Like to me, it's like, because he's always been on record saying that Piccolo was his favorite character, right? Mm-hmm. But like you look at Piccolo, and Piccolo is nothing like Toriyama, really, in the grand scheme of things. Like the only thing you could maybe say that's similar to Toriyama is that like he's a bit of a loner. And that seems a bit more synonymous with Toriyama. But like I look at Neva, and like he's got like he's like basically like he was there since the beginning of like everything. When it comes to like the creation of the Dragon Ball universe and stuff like that. And then you got to take into the fact that like he is directly influencing things that are happening to the main characters. He is 100% like he's the reason they all went to the demon realm in the first place. He's the reason that that the Tamagamis were made much stronger in their fights versus everybody, for like very clear reasons. Yeah,
he literally had the pen. He moved the plot. He was like, Dragon Ball's not ready.
Yeah, and he like
okay,
and cool. Like the very little bit that he did interact with like Goku, like outside of the Super Saiyan 4, like I said, he looked at Goku, Goku looked at him, and he like winked at him or whatever that scene was. I can't remember the scene exactly, but to me, it just seems like that was Toriyama, and that was him trying to interact with his character.
Yeah, no. I mean, I think you just like rubbed neurons together for me and realized a new theory, and that's that like if I was saying Guru's hidden potential versus Neva's maybe genetic potential unlock, what if Piccolo's clothes beam with 5 million years of time can turn into Neva's cannon beam, where he just canonizes things?
Yes.
Like Super Saiyan. He's got the cannon beam technique to just turn things into reality. I don't know, man. This is I'm just saying, like, yeah, I don't know. He's a powerful character, and it definitely just seemed like he was. I can see what you're saying there.
Yeah.
Because he was there to be exactly what the plot needed at any given moment. Information, progress, new forms and merchandise. Like, it's just, if it needed to happen, Neva made it happen.
Yeah, so, but yeah, I think, Daima was a lot of fun, and I'm glad we got it in the end of the day. So, all right, everybody, that is going to do it for today's episode. This has been KamehaRadio, a Dragon Ball podcast. Uni, thanks so much for coming and hanging out with me today.
Of course. Thank you for having me.
Yep. What do you got going on your end that you want to promote?
Woo! Mainly for content like this, Universe X. You can find that on YouTube at Universe X Media. That's where I do most of my Dragon Ball content not related to card games, as well as other anime content. We are going to be covering Sparking Zero's Daima DLC, which will hopefully be announced very, very soon, depending on when you're watching this, or already announced, hopefully. I would rather it already be announced. Dokkan, Legends, we're playing through some Digimon story. Like, really, that's where I get to have fun. That's like, I mean, I have fun playing the card games, but Universe X is where I get to let my inner anime weave out and just have a great time. So I would just go over there. We've got some theory videos for Daima. We've got the entire series and in reviews, and there's just a lot of content when it comes to Dragon Ball on that channel. I'm making more and more every day, so pretty much that.
All right, yep, and we'll make sure that we put those down in the description below, so you guys are able to click on those links and go over and check out all of his content, all of his channels, and kind of go from there. Find your fancy and just indulge. So, but that's going to do it for today's episode, everyone. Thank you guys so much for listening in, and we will see you guys all in the next one. Peace.